Back to the channel, folks. Nate here with Murray Farm and Ranch. Hope things are treating you well. I've been out on the farm this evening, did a little bit of hog hunting, and took down a nice boar hog. We took it back to the barn and cut it up, butchered him up, and we'll have some nice pulled pork in a couple of days. And that got me to thinking about my knife selection, and I wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about my recommendations, or at least my experiences on what I'm doing with my cutlery these days. I tell you, I've been kind of a knife fanatic since childhood. I think I got my first pocket knife when I was 4 years old. I probably accumulated 40 or 50 by the time I was in second or third grade. And I've always had a real soft spot for handmade fixed blade knives that have a unique handle pattern, blade pattern, just things that set them apart. And I've just always had a real soft spot for fixed blade knives. I've done a lot of backcountry hunting. I've done a lot of big game hunting, moose, elk, mule deer, whitetail. And over the years, my preference for what kind of knives I take to the woods has changed. And I wanted to talk to you guys kind of about why and what I'm doing now, and what might work in your favor. My preference was to take a fixed blade knife with a gut hook. This is a Benchmade bone collector edition with a gut hook. And this, I can't tell you how many knives that or how many animals this knife has been a part of. I broke down multiple elk, lots of deer. This knife has been in a part of a lot of hunts with me. And I would always wear this knife, and then on backcountry hunts. But then this knife, because it has a drop point blade, it wasn't really ideal for fine work, caping work. And so what I would do is I would carry a second knife in my pack, such as this. This is a Knives of Alaska fixed blade, small. I think they call this the bear cub, or cub bear. And it's a nice little sharp, fine point knife. It does good for small caping work, working around the tear ducts and so forth. But here I am. I'm carrying two knives, and I would always have to carry a knife sharpener along with it. And so I did this for years and years and years. At one point, this knife was really dull, and I went on a hunt with this knife instead. This is a Moore maker. It also has that kind of drop point blade, has a gut hook. This knife, Moore maker knives are really nice knives. They're out of Matador, Texas. They hold an edge. This is a nice knife, but it's got the same kind of problems. It's you can only do so much work with this, and you do need to take a sharpener with you to the field. And so I started experimenting a little bit with replaceable blade knives, and this was my first replaceable blade knife. This is a Havalon Piranta, and I've got a 70A blade on it right now, which is this is a nice blade for skinning. This is the knife I just used on this pig to skin him. And I like this blade because it's blunt. You can do skinning work. You don't cut through. This is a great little knife, and I took this knife on several hunts. My only real complaint is that it doesn't have a big bulky handle, something that you can really put some weight into, and it's just a smaller frame knife. And so for big animals like moose and elk, it'll work, but it just it just didn't quite fit the bill for me. I love this knife for whitetail. I love this knife for pigs, small game. I use it a lot. But I wanted something a little different. So my next knife that I went to that was a replaceable, this is an Outdoor Edge. This knife is an Eastman's edition. I got this with an Eastman subscription. And the blade, the replacement situation is a little bit different. So there's a button on the side. You press this, and the blade will remove. And these have just a different kind of look to them. And I took this knife on a couple of hunts, and so you snap it back in place like so. And I had an issue with this knife on one of my hunts. So I took down an elk, and in the process of gutting, caping, quartering, boning out, I went through about 4 blades on that one animal. And you know, if you've ever taken down a big animal like that, you know that in the process of, you know, caping, quartering, gutting, skinning, whatever, you're going to get some meat, some fat, some sinew, some stuff in the knife. And when I took the blade off to replace, and there had gotten to be some stuff that was kind of down inside this groove where the blade goes into. And I went to put a new blade on, and I could not get it to snap in, and I couldn't get the button to work. And I had to finish up that animal with a blade that wasn't wanting to stay in place. And it was dangerous, but it was the only knife I had, and I had to make do with what I had. But it really left an impression on me because I did not like the way that this button and that this locking mechanism can be affected. I brought the knife home and I boiled it in a pot of hot water for a couple of hours, and I got all that meat and fat and stuff out. And I mean, it works just fine now. And I've used this knife since on deer and so forth. But it really bothered me that I had that problem in the field with it, so I haven't taken it back. So this knife was a little small. I had my blade mechanism issue with this one. And so I went ahead and I tried another knife, and this is basically the big brother to this one. So this is a Havalon Piranta, and this is a Havalon Baracuda. So you can tell it's a much larger knife. And the reason why I went with this knife is I liked some of the blade combinations that you can get with this knife. So, for example, here I have a bone saw, and I'll tell you this bone saw is legit. I have I have skull capped an elk in the field with it. I mean, you know, if you've ever done that, it's not super easy, even with a hacksaw. You know, taxidermists use a sawzall or something, and we took the skull cap off of a moose and with of an elk with one of these blades, and I mean it is sharp and it will do the job. This blade that I have on here is a drop point blade, which I like for most work. You know, for boning work, for your gutting and skinning and so forth. You know, this blade does really well. But I'm also able to switch to a fillet blade. And so this fillet blade has a sharp point on it, like my caping knife would. And so I can do that real fine work around the eyes and so forth with it. So this is an example of a fillet blade. You know, it's got a super sharp point to it. And I'll show you how the mechanism is different and how I feel like it's a little better as far as being less likely to have a malfunction in the field. So this blade, there's a groove, and so on this knife, there's a groove, and these blades have this larger opening that kind of narrows down. And so you take your blade, you fit it onto the groove, and it slides into place. And I have gone through multiple animals and not even had to change a blade, but I've never had one get loose. I've never had one come off. I have had a blade break, but that was because I was doing something I probably shouldn't with it. And so I really haven't had these knives malfunction. And what I do like about it is that in the event that you do have some stuff that you know kind of gets down in this channel, you could take a knife blade and you could kind of clean this out. You know, it wouldn't be that difficult to clean this little groove and get it to where your blade sets down there nice and flush. And so I've been real pleased with this knife. This knife has basically kind of become my go-to for backcountry hunts. I really like it because I can take all three of the blades that I prefer. You know, I've got a sharp pointed blade for caping. I've got a bone saw, a small bone blade for breaking a pelvis, taking off the shanks, cutting the skull cap off, and then I've got a drop point blade that I can do my skinning work, my boning, and they probably have some other combinations of blades for this knife, but these are the three that I prefer. And with I did want to also mention that with the Barracuda, they also have different blade styles for it. So this is a 70A blade. This has got that rounded tip. I've got so this is a 60XT, and the 60XT is more of a sharp pointed blade. They've got several different combinations. Most of my blades here look to be, let's see, 70A, 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 60XT. So most of my blades are either the 60XT or the 70A that I've got, but that works well. Like I said, I like this knife a lot for smaller work, smaller animals, whitetail, mule deer, pigs. It does the job well, and I've had absolutely no complaints with this knife. One thing I did notice is that I do feel as though the Havalon blades seem to hold an edge just a little better than these Outdoor Edge blades. As I mentioned, with that one elk, I went through 4 blades, which I thought was a little excessive. These blades aren't super cheap, and 4 blades just seems like a lot. But they were truly just dull as could be by the time I got done, and it was getting dangerous to use them, so I felt like I needed to change to a sharper blade. With this Barracuda, the elk I killed this year, I got him completely broken down with one blade. And I actually brought that knife home, killed a whitetail, and used that same blade to do about half the whitetail, and it was still decently sharp. So I feel like they hold a pretty nice edge. So basically, in closing, what my style has come to do is I've gotten away from carrying these fixed blade knives that are not replaceable. These knives are great. They have sentimental value. They're sturdy. They're awesome knives. But the problem is for me, I like to have 2 different styles of blade at least, and so that means that I'm gonna have to carry these 2 or some other combination, plus a sharpener. So that's just more weight in the pack, more bulky in the pack. And so what I've come to do is now I'm carrying a Havalon Baracuda. I'll typically, what I do is inside the sheath, I'll carry a couple of extra blades. I'll typically have 1 bone saw blade. I have found that you do not need more than 1 bone blade on a hunt. I mean, I don't think these things stay sharp for a while. So 1 bone blade will go in. I will put an extra drop point blade. I will put a fillet blade. And then before I leave for my hunt, I will always replace and put a new drop point blade on. So I actually have two brand new drop point blades when I go on my hunt. And so far to this point, I have not had any issues with that not getting the job done. So I hope that helps with you guys and your decisions on what you might do. And if you're looking for a replaceable knife, I believe these Havalons are super nice. I do not have any experience with any of the other manufacturers. I know Gerber makes a replaceable blade knife, as does several others now. But my only experience is with the Havalon and the Outdoor Edge. And in my opinion, the Outdoor Edge is a great knife, but that malfunction in the field really bothered me, and the fact that the blades seem to kind of wear out a little faster than the Havalon really affects my decision on taking it back on a big backcountry hunt anyway. So hope that helps you guys. If you have any questions, hit us up in the comments. I'll be happy to answer them. If you've enjoyed this content, please hit the subscribe, ring the bell, the notification bell, share it to your friends, comment down below. See you guys on the next one.